Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Zhang. Here are some of today's top stories. Michael Cohen took the stand today in former President Trump's so-called hush money trial in New York. More on today's developments. Could AI influence the upcoming elections? San Francisco city leaders are worried and want to put safeguards in place. The man who received a pig kidney transplant earlier this year has passed away. He was the first to undergo such a procedure. First up, we're entering the fourth week of former President Trump's so-called hush money trial in New York. Trump addressed the reporters as he entered the courtroom today, ahead of a planned testimony by a key figure, Michael Cohen.
Got no evidence, and I'm innocent. This is a political witch hunt, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I tell you what, the appellate division and the judges should step in, because what this judge is getting away with is disgraceful.
The prosecution's star witness, Michael Cohen, took the stand today. He's Trump's former lawyer, and the prosecution also describes him as a personal fixer. Cohen began his testimony by talking about his experience working under Trump. His appearance signals that the trial is entering its final stretch. Prosecutors say they may wrap up their presentation of evidence by the end of the week. Republican Senators J.D. Vance and Tommy Tuberville are at the trial today. And over the weekend, Trump and President Biden both held campaign events on the same day, which has been rare this year. Trump had a rally in New Jersey and Biden had a private fundraiser in Washington state. Just 2 blocks away from Trump's trial, Democratic Senator Bob Menendez was also in court as his bribery trial begins. Here's what he said about the trial last Thursday.
Any thoughts about the trial as we head into next week?
I'm looking forward to proving my innocence.
Jury selection began today in federal court in Manhattan. This will kick off the second corruption trial from Menendez this decade. The U.S. Senator is facing 16 charges, including conspiracy to commit bribery and conspiracy to obstruct justice. Prosecutors say that in exchange for gold bars, cash, and more, the senator used his influence to deliver favors to 3 New Jersey businessmen, as well as the governments of Egypt and Qatar. Menendez and 2 of the businessmen on trial today have all pleaded not guilty. The remaining businessman pleaded guilty. The senator's wife is also charged, but she will stand trial at a later date. After being charged last year, Menendez stepped down as chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. More updates on the Israel-Hamas war. Israel is marking its Memorial Day today, and more people in Gaza are fleeing from the city of Rafah.
We will not forget the blood-curdling abuse, the rape, the kidnapping, the mutilation of bodies, the destruction and the burning, the crimes against our people, the crimes against humanity. We won't forget, and we won't let anyone else in the world forget this either. We do not forget, even for a moment, the abductees.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivered his Memorial Day speech at Israel's National Cemetery in Jerusalem. He said the current war is a choice between Israel and what he called the monsters of Hamas. Netanyahu also promised to continue the war until all hostages are returned and Hamas is dismantled. Protests, shouting matches, and some scuffles broke out at several Memorial Day events, which are usually rare on this day. Dozens walked out on Netanyahu's speech, and several hecklers interrupted the speeches of cabinet ministers. And back in Gaza, the United Nations says some 360,000 people have fled the city of Rafah. This comes as Israel's defense minister tells the Secretary of State Anthony Blinken of a precision operation in Rafah. Blinken has declined to provide a red line that would cause the U.S. to pull away from backing Israel. A former U.S. Marine pilot charged with training Chinese military pilots was unknowingly working with a Chinese hacker, according to his lawyer. 55-year-old Daniel Dugan is fighting extradition from Australia on U.S. charges of training Chinese military pilots to land on aircraft carriers. Dugan denies allegations that he broke U.S. arms control laws. He has been in an Australian maximum security prison since his arrest in 2022. That was after working for 6 years in Beijing. The lawyer's finding says U.S. authorities have found communication with Dugan on devices seized from a convicted Chinese hacker named Su Bin. Su Bin pleaded guilty to theft of U.S. military aircraft designs by hacking major U.S. defense contractors in 2016. Dugan's lawyer says that his client didn't know of Subin's connections to Chinese regime agents. The Australian Attorney General will decide whether to surrender Dugan to the U.S. after a court hears extradition case later this month. San Francisco wants to put safeguards up against AI ahead of elections. Today, city officials heard how deepfake content created by AI can influence elections. At the same time, OpenAI introduced its talking and seeing model today. NTD's David Lamb reports.
These are AI-generated images of Donald Trump hugging and kissing Dr. Anthony Fauci, again, a ploy to interfere in politics.
Officials in San Francisco had a hearing about election-related risks in AI and deepfakes, which are fake AI-generated photos or videos. Some solutions pending in California legislature include requiring invisible watermarks on AI content, requiring social media to label election-related deepfakes, and banning deceptive deepfakes about elections in mailers, robocalls, and TV ads.
It's good these bills are pending, but that we don't actually have, that someone could put out AI-generated content that is misleading people about when an election is, and we don't have specific laws that target that as a different sort of threat than what existed before that technology was.
SF's elections director says ballot machines are not connected to the internet and voting systems are reinstalled before every election. They also cross-check system counts of ballots with manual counts. Also today, OpenAI introduced its latest tech, GPT-4o, which the founder says can reason across text, audio, and video in real time. The founder posted to X a demo of its new model describing what it sees to another AI.
I'm O, ready to explore the world through your eyes? What are we looking at today?
Hi, O. We're looking at a person wearing a black leather jacket and a light-colored shirt.
Make it fine. Code with cat.
But the group Pause AI wants to pause the training of systems more powerful than GPT-4 until there's knowledge on how to build them safely for the sake of humanity. In San Francisco, to combat misinformation, the elections department says it continuously notifies people about election information and updates.
If there was any sort of false statement around the voting process, registration, election results, that's when we would take action, that we would be directly involved.
On the federal level, Representative Chrissy Houlihan of Pennsylvania introduced the Preparing Election Administrators for AI Act. It would require election administrators to create voluntary guidelines on the use and risks of AI. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
Schools are turning to artificial intelligence to spot guns as companies press lawmakers for state funds. But it does come with a set of criteria, and only one company meets the requirements so far.
Kansas could soon offer up to $5 million in grants for schools to install surveillance cameras with artificial intelligence systems that can spot people carrying guns. But the governor needs to approve the expenditures, and the schools must meet some very specific criteria. The AI software must be patented, quote, designated as qualified anti-terrorism technology in compliance with certain security industry standards. It's already used in at least 30 states and capable of detecting 3 broad firearm classifications with a minimum of 300 subclassifications and at least 2,000 permutations, among other things. Only one company currently meets all those criteria, Zero Eyes. It's a rapidly growing firm founded by military veterans after the fatal shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. Zero Eyes uses AI with surveillance cameras to identify visible guns, then flashes an alert to an operations center staffed around the clock by former law enforcement officers and military veterans. If verified as a legitimate threat, an alert is sent to school officials and local authorities. The legislation pending before Kansas Governor Laura Kelly highlights 2 things. After numerous high-profile shootings, school security has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. And in state capitals, some companies are successfully persuading policymakers to write their particular corporate solutions into state law. Other states have also passed or proposed bills to use such technology for schools. This includes Michigan, Utah, Florida, Iowa, Colorado, Louisiana, and Wisconsin. On Friday, Missouri became the latest state to pass legislation geared towards Zero Eyes, offering $2.5 million in matching grants for schools to buy firearms detection software designated as qualified anti-terrorism technology.
The first recipient of a genetically modified pig kidney transplant has passed away almost 2 months after undergoing the procedure. NTD's Christina Corona has more details on the story.
Richard Sleeman, aged 62, received the transplant at Massachusetts General Hospital in March. His death was confirmed on Saturday by both his family and the hospital where the surgery was conducted. The transplantation team at Massachusetts General Hospital expressed sorrow over Sleeman's death and extended their sympathies to his family. They noted that there was no indication his passing was linked to the transplant. However, the surgeons had hoped the pig kidney would function for at least 2 years. Sleeman was the first living person to undergo this procedure. Previously, pig kidneys had only been temporarily transplanted into brain-dead donors. 2 men received heart transplants from pigs, but unfortunately both passed away within months. In April, Lisa Pisano received a heart pump and a genetically modified pig kidney as she was too sick for a traditional heart and kidney transplant.
I said yes because I didn't have any other options. I really didn't. I was at the end of my rope. So I just took a chance, and worst case scenario, if it didn't work for me, it might have worked for someone else. And it could have helped the next person or the next person.
She is the second person to undergo this procedure. Christina Corona, NTD News.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. Soon, all dining fees must be included on menu prices in California. It's part of the state's effort to get rid of surcharges and hidden fees. A former pro baseball player turns to football. Why the changing sports? We'll take a look at his athletic career. A parade featuring colorful costumes, floats, music, and more in celebration of the day a meditation practice was introduced to the public. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Zhang. Prices for dining out have been going up, and they might go up even more in California. Instead of getting surprised by the price upon receiving a bill, people might get that shock looking at the menu prices. Restaurant surcharges will be banned in California.
Starting in July, restaurants in California can no longer add surcharges to customers' orders. The state's Attorney General Rob Bonta released guidance on the new junk fee ban of SB 478. It initially focused on eliminating hidden fees found when booking airplane tickets or hotels. But the new guidance says the honest pricing law will apply to event tickets, short-term rentals, hotels, restaurants, and food delivery. Bonta said, put simply, the price a Californian sees should be the price they pay. It prohibits businesses from advertising or displaying a price that does not include all mandatory fees or charges other than government-required taxes, fees, or reasonable shipping or delivery costs. That means, for example, a $10 quesadilla at a restaurant that charges a 5% service fee to cover employee health costs would have to be listed as $10.50 on the menu. Bonta's office stated, according to 2018 data from Consumer Reports, at least 85% of Americans experienced an unexpected fee for a service. And more than 2/3 of those surveyed in 2023 said they were paying more now in surprise charges than they did 5 years earlier. The California Restaurant Association disagrees with Bonta's interpretation of the law. One of the association's VP says courts have consistently concluded that service fees are permissible under the Consumer Legal Remedies Act as long as they are properly disclosed on restaurant menus. Bonta's office's interpretation of the law itself is the bait and switch of the original law. He said they are considering options to block the implementation of Bonta's interpretation of the transparency law. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
Now in sports news, a surprising twist as a former pro baseball player, Monte Harrison, is trading his glove for a helmet. NTD's Carlos Reyes has more on Harrison's remarkable journey back to the gridiron with the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Monte Harrison is making headlines, but this time it's not for his skills on the baseball diamond, it's for his return to the gridiron. After a decade-long stint in professional baseball, including a brief stint in the MLB, the 28-year-old athlete is headed back to school to play football for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Harrison's journey to this point has been anything but conventional. A standout wide receiver in high school, he was highly recruited by colleges across the country, ultimately committing to Nebraska back in 2014. However, instead of pursuing football, he chose the path of professional baseball when he was drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers the same year. Now, after years in the minor leagues and a taste of the big leagues with the Miami Marlins, Harrison is returning to his first love, football. Despite never receiving a scholarship offer from Arkansas initially, he's set to join the Razorbacks as a walk-on player. During his senior year at Lee Summit High School in Missouri, Harrison's gridiron prowess was undeniable. He caught 60 passes for 1,007 yards, scored 13 touchdowns, and rushed for an additional 198 yards with 12 more touchdowns. Additionally, he showcased his versatility by throwing a touchdown pass, solidifying his status as one of the top talents in the state. If he makes the roster, Harrison will become one of the oldest players in Division I college football. With his impressive high school stats and years of professional athletic experience, he's poised to make an impact on the gridiron once again, proving that it's never too late to chase your dreams, even if it means going back to school. Carlos Reyes, NTD News.
Celebrations are being held around the world by practitioners of a meditation practice. World Falun Dafa Day is officially observed on May 13th. Many activities were held over the weekend, and NTD's Jason Blair caught up with a parade in San Francisco.
It's the 32nd anniversary since the practice was first introduced to the public. San Francisco Bay Area practitioners are celebrating with a parade. They have floats, costumes, colorful banners, and even a 10-person dragon. The parade started outside of San Francisco's iconic ferry building.
I think it's great. I think these are obviously a lot of people that believe in peace and well-being and what they're doing.
The practitioners of Falun Gong live according to universal principles.
Truth, compassion, and tolerance. And that really helps me to become a better person.
They're just very grounding values, and I think important for the basis of all humanity. Like I was saying, this compassion is so important.
And I think our society, while it says that it's very empathetic, it's not. And while it says that it's compassionate, it's not. So it's definitely important, to practice principles like that.
One passerby said she was drawn to the positive energy of the event.
This is having that connection with God, right? And that's what it's all about. So that's what I see here.
The San Francisco Tango Marching Band consists of all volunteers, and they've been participating in this parade since 2007.
It's all Falun Dafa practitioners from around the Bay Area. And so we join about 10 to 12 parades per year, and we do that to share Falun Dafa with the community.
Thompson said the music they play is original.
So all the music that you hear in our band is original music scores that are composed by famous composers that are also Falun Dafa practitioners.
According to the Falun Dafa Information Center, Falun Gong is practiced by millions in over 100 countries. Practitioners mention noticeable benefits to their health, well-being, and moral character.
I want to do better. I want to help more people.
For me, it's a day of celebration, and for the way that it's just changed my life, it's just made me such a happy person.
The practice originated in China. However, after it quickly grew in popularity, the Chinese Communist Party saw it as a threat and started violently persecuting the practice in 1999.
So since then, practitioners have been imprisoned, tortured, or even killed for doing this. And the most horrific atrocity that we found was organ harvesting.
The persecution is still happening today. Jason Blair, NTD News.
Stay tuned for China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer coming up next. Could clicking add to cart or buy now send personal information into the hands of the Chinese Communist Party? Besides social media app TikTok or e-commerce platform Temu, one of the world's largest scam campaigns is reportedly operated by Chinese hackers, and American shoppers are the target. More from a top UK consumer protection agency. More details coming tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And that's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.